What's up guys, Bo here, and in this entry I want to talk to you guys I want to give you a part 2 on pain and suffering, because I've already done a video about pain and suffering, but kind of in line with just the previous video and also my sorriness v guilt video. All of these videos are really designed to get you guys to develop more perspective and also to basically challenge your identifications with things, challenge your vertical thinking and kind of get you thinking horizontally as well, right? And starting to develop a sense of nuance, because life is nuanced, right? Like it's not black and white. So pain and suffering, right? A lot of people have, well, you know, when you go through a tough time in your life, right? Have you ever had someone tell you, like, well, it could be worse, you know, think about people starving in Africa. Think about the people who had to fight in trenches in the war, you know, things like that. Think about people who have no parents, you know. Think of people who are dirt poor and, you know, even having, like, a steady source of food is, like, you know, a struggle, you know, things like that. Think of people who were born without an arm, you know, whatever. And, you know, from their perspective, they have a point, and there is a point to it, right? But what I'm wanting to say to you in this, you know, here is that it's not as simple as that. It's not as black and white as that, right? Pain and suffering is not directly proportional to life circumstance, right? That's the thing I want to drill through in this entry. Pain and suffering are not directly linked to life circumstances. It tends to be, but it doesn't have to be, right? And I just thought of an example, so I'll give you this example, right? Elliot Rodger, the guy who basically went around and killed, like, I don't know how many people, but he had, like, a hang-up about basically not being attractive to women and stuff. But if you look at his life circumstances, right? He grew up in a rich family, right? He grew up in a rich family. You know, all of his needs were catered for. If he wanted something, his parents would buy it for him, like, no question. You know, he could literally have anything he wanted, you know, from like possessions, you know, like a possessions kind of thing. You know, there was nothing that he had to need or to want for. You know, it was all catered for him. And yet he, you know, completely flew off the handle, killed, you know, several people, killed himself, you know, and was completely messed up emotionally, right? And then, you know, on the flip side, you have people, like I gave an example about Viktor Frankl, you know, the dude who wrote a story about how, because he was in concentration camps in Auschwitz and stuff like that. And he came out of that, he survived that horror. And he, you know, he went on to inspire people and to write, you know, books about it. And, you know, to pick up where he left, because he was a psychoanalyst, I think. I don't know. I don't want to confuse. I don't want to kind of mix up those terms. But he was a psychologist, essentially, you know, and he picked up from where he left and he carried on with it. And actually, the experiences that he had in the concentration camps actually enhanced his understanding of, like, you know, his practice. So there's a mismatch here, right? Again, pain and suffering they're not directly proportional to life circumstances, right? And a lot of people, like, they believe that they are, and, you know, they have a prejudice, essentially, towards, they just think that, you know, rich people are always happy, you know, rich and famous people are always happy, and kind of poor people are not happy, you know, and it's not true. It's not true at all. Again, it is this you know, inability to perceive horizontally, essentially. But yeah, you know, when, you know, we shouldn't judge other people so quickly and so, you know, so fully based on their external realities and their external credentials, right? Because it says nothing about, like, what the person feels on the inside, you know, what the person identifies with, you know, internally. It says nothing about that, you know. And simultaneously, we shouldn't let people kind of like give us that kind of tough love, where it's like kind of, oh, well, you know, you think of people who are worse, you know, if you can take it and you can extract like a resourceful kind of perspective from that, you know, the resourceful perspective is, yes, like, you're right, those people, the energy that you should be approaching this particular thing should be, like, yes, those people have had it worse. That means that with the resources that I have, with the opportunities that I have, you know, I am able, it's kind of cut my face off, I am able to basically, you know, I'm not as fucked as I thought I was. I'm not as disadvantaged as I thought I was, you know, when there are these people who have it much worse than me, who are, you know, more unfortunate, you know, than I have it. That's the way you should be. That's the energy that you should be approaching it from. It should be kind of resourceful, if you see what I mean. Like, it should kind of motivate you. It should give you a positive kind of motivation to work harder or whatever it is. The energy that you should not approach this with is like, shit, you're right, I'm like a fucking worthless piece of shit because I'm so lazy and I'm so, you know, I'm not making the most of my situation, and oh my god, you know, like, I'm never, like, you know, I'm just a piece of shit, you know, that's like, no, fucking no, that's not what you want to do. Like, essentially, it's the difference between, you could say the difference between light and shadow. So the difference between, like, something that gives you positive motivation, as opposed to something that just gives you an excuse to, like, beat yourself up, you know, essentially. And yeah, you know, essentially that's it, you know. Pain and suffering is not directly proportional to external circumstances. And so we shouldn't be so quick to judge others, essentially. You know, you never know, and this kind of helps you to build empathy with people. Well, the first step is to basically see that within yourself. So like I mentioned in the previous video, you know, don't judge, learn to stop judging yourself, you know, because judgment is never a good thing. When it's judgment that has a bad energy, you know, has like a kind of, you know, a destructive energy behind it, you know, self-destructive energy behind it, like I'm shit or something like that, or I'm useless or I'm worthless, that kind of thing. No, like, don't do that. First, you need to learn to basically, yes, to not do that to yourself. And once you've learned to not do that to yourself, you can then take that and not do it to other people, right? So, you know, when people, like, they're kind of bitching and moaning and stuff like that and complaining about their life circumstances and, you know, their emotional pain, then you can be more tolerant and, like, you won't be the very person, you know, who is, like, you know, propagating this kind of thing by saying, yeah, you know, you should, like, you know, think about people who have it worse than you, right? Like, you won't be as intolerant, like, as that person. So, yeah, yeah, you know, we're all, yeah, you know, again, you know, energetic sensitivity. We all deal with shit, you know, and it's all relative to us, you know, it's all subjective to us. Like no, you can't compare really two different people's, like, suffering. Really, you can't really compare it. Like, you can give perspective. So you can say, you know, okay, well, this person has had it worse than you know, just to offer a perspective. But you cannot directly compare those two differing, like, life circumstances, right? You can't compare the pain that they have, because the pain that they have is subjective to them, right? And we should honor each and every person's pain and suffering with the honor that it deserves, right? Because we're all going through the same shit, right? And the quicker that we realize that, you know, honoring that stuff will allow us to basically come together and become stronger, and to get into a positive state of, like, moving on, the quicker we can realize that, you know, the quicker, yeah, we won't be so fucking, yeah, you know, we won't be stuck in the dumps and, like, judging each other and stuff like that, which is, like, completely useless, you know, completely unresourceful. So cool. Hope that gave you even more perspective on that, and yeah, don't judge. Cool. Well, that's this video, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.